Okay. It's 12:06 a.m. Not that late, but I just, have these thoughts. And I'm not sure why I'm recording this, but I don't want this to die for some reason. So recently I've been having this, this funny, realization or awakening to certain things. Maybe it's a coming of age thing, but I'm seeing more and more the universality of loneliness, of pain, of disappointment, of emptiness, basically. And the thing is, before I used to have this feeling some people were empty, but then some people didn't notice their emptiness, so they weren't empty. But it's funny because everybody, if you read poems by all these different poets, they all talk about it. They talk about that nagging sense always. They have that, and if you listen to different musicians, they're always talking about it. They're talking about loneliness. They're talking about a nagging emptiness. There's something that we were born to have, but we don't have it. There's something, a hole that's not being filled for anyone. It's universal. It's the reason every culture ever made up a religion. It's insane, but it's just I don't know. And so I haven't been talking to God at all in the past, I don't know, month, few weeks, because the whole thing is a mess, but I haven't been doing that, and I haven't been interested in that, and I'm just becoming more empty, more depressed, more pointless, more, I don't know, nihilistic. It's like there's something that's not happening that needs to happen. And I just, okay. The funny thing is that I feel like everything in the Western society, in the Western civilization, is meant to distract us from this. Entertainment, outrage, controversy, sex, popularity, just everything, just Nicki Minaj's butt, the whole deal, just all the humor in the world, all that, everything. It's supposed to take your mind off it. It's supposed to keep you from thinking any deeper about life than what you're hearing. It's supposed to keep you from thinking about, where did I come from? Me as a person, before any of this, before I was born, where did humankind come from? That's an important question, and some people have never even thought about it before. And if you don't know, how can you know what your purpose was? Because if you were created, if you were made, if you came from something, that must mean you have a purpose. And I know some people say they don't believe in God, but, well, that's absurd, honestly. It's honestly absurd. Nobody doesn't believe in God. That's not true. People lie to themselves and they say it and they try to bury it deep down. But everybody knows. Everybody sees in themselves and others. Any goodness, anything that you see in yourself, that you see, there's a source. There's a reason there's good and bad. There's a reason. Look, even if you just want to talk about scientific facts, something can't come from nothing. The physical world, matter, it couldn't have come from nothing. There's no way. There's no possibility. It makes me upset that people even try to say that, because there's no way. It's just, if you're going to tell me nothing, something can come from nothing, I would tell you you're crazy. But it's okay to say that now, apparently. And people are lying to themselves. Again, I think it's just a distraction. Because, look, there has to be God, because there's no other way that there's anything else. And if there is God, and if He made people, He made them for a purpose. And the purpose, I would assume, you would think, would be for Himself. Because what other purpose would there be? Logically, if He's the only thing that exists, and He's going to create something else, that thing is probably to serve Himself. It makes sense. And, well, if He wants to glorify Himself, because He's the only thing that exists and the only thing that has any worth, and He creates something else, that thing is for Himself, to serve Himself, to glorify Himself, to show Himself. So, if He made people for that reason, and if He made people, alright, I'm just going to be straight up from the Bible. If He made people to talk with Him, to be with Him, to know Him, to believe in Him, to believe in the truth about Him and about the Creator, then if someone tries to divorce themselves from that, they're never not going to feel empty. And it's just, I'm starting to fully see that that's the problem with the world. Because everywhere where you see there's problems, I think it's just a lack of God. It's a lack of that. Force of, like, I don't know, it's just, God made us with a hole the size of Himself. I've heard that before. I always thought it was stupid. Like, oh yeah, hole the size of God, great. But I never feel peace. I never have peace. Nobody I know ever has peace. Nobody I know who doesn't have a relationship with God, who doesn't talk with God, who doesn't actively partake of God. Everyone I know who's like that never has peace. If you, on the surface, you talk with them and they're fine. They seem, normal life, happy. But, if you go anywhere deeper than that, no one is satisfied. And yeah, they could be satisfied for a little while, but it always drops off. Were we born? Were we meant for a life that isn't totally, deeply satisfying and beautiful and truthful and full of honesty? And what am I even saying? I've always had a hard time coming to terms with the idea that I was born for a meaningless life, a meaningless person, meaningless life. that there's no, because that's basically, there's two possibilities in my mind. There's God and there's no God. So I've already ruled out long ago that no God is impossible scientifically, logically. If I'm honest with myself even, I just can't comprehend that. So there's no God or there's God. So there's nihilism, meaninglessness, hopelessness, emptiness. Just honestly, soullessness. And then there's Christianity, and then there's God. God isn't limited, let's just say, to Christianity, but there's God, or there's nihilism. There's meaning or there's no meaning. And people say, oh, well, you can have meaning without God, because look, we'll just make up something. We'll make up human progress. Okay, but that's still meaningless, because you're still gonna die. Everything's still gonna decay. The world will eventually be used up. The sun will blow up. You're still meaningless, completely and utterly. There's no meaning in you. Like, there's no sense to anything. There's no order in the world. I mean, you can set yourself a little goal, and it'll keep you distracted and satisfied, but you're never gonna be, you're never gonna have peace. You're just gonna be chasing a goal till you die, like a rat on a wheel. And yes, I believe in human progress, that's not my point, but people have this thing where they think, oh, we'll just make up our own meaning. But for one thing, you're a person, you can't make up a meaning for yourself. Because, like, a tool doesn't decide what it's for. If you don't decide what's gonna make you happy on that kind of level. You don't decide not what's gonna make you happy, but what you're for, what your use is, what you're going to be able to be filled by. You can't decide what fills you and makes you satisfied. You can try to do all kinds of things, but everybody knows they fail. I mean, come on. The most depressed people are the ones who have a comfortable income, and the ones who are rich, and the ones who seemingly have it all. That's even a popular trope. The depressed rich kid. Why? It seems like they have everything. Like, even if you look from an evolutionary perspective, they should be the happiest people because they have all the resources at their dispense. If they have children, then they reproduce. They're just their line won't die. Everything strong, good. Like, you would think those would be the happiest people, but they tend to be the saddest. And it's just, I don't know. Drugs can't fill emptiness. Sex doesn't fill anybody's emptiness. People claim love does, but that drops off too. That wears out, that fades, it goes away. People are terrified by that concept because they tend to find their whole identity in love, and then it's gone. And you hear all about the breakups and all that. But like, people have this idea that, oh, well, I'll be filled finally and I won't be lonely anymore because I'll find a person and it'll be really beautiful, and I'll be like sexually fulfilled and everything, my soul will be happy. But you're still trying to fill a God-sized hole with a person. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure love is great, but I don't think it's gonna work, dude. And I've never heard of a person who genuinely was satisfied and happy. I mean, totally fulfilled from a relationship. It just, and I mean, throughout history, every major philosopher, Christian or not, has known that God is the only thing that can actually give sense to the world, give some kind of some kind of, not even structure, but just meaning to anything. Any type of meaning, in any type of sense. So, when people try to say that there's no God, you see what happens. What's the point? Just commit suicide. If there's nothing that makes anything comprehensible, that makes anything make sense whatsoever, that gives anything any type of meaning whatsoever, why should I live? Why shouldn't I just die today? It wouldn't make a difference. Like, live a little more, try to... There's no point. There's no point in trying to advance anything. Like, that kind of like belief, that kind of thought that you can just try to replace God with man and all that, it's just, it's insane, I guess. And I'm mad at myself because I'm so disconnected from God. I don't ever talk to him, and I don't ever, I don't know. Because the whole thing is, the farther I get away from God, the more I want to lay down and die. And I don't think that's an accident, and I don't think I've been brainwashed. I think God just made people that way. Anyways, so I think I'm just, obviously this whole thing was just me talking, rambling, but I feel like I'm kind of rambling a lot. But just, okay, my whole point here is believing in God. For one thing, I don't think that God is a construct made by man. I think man is a construct made by God. But listen, believing in God, that's the only way that your life can have meaning, because as I've said, nihilism, just commit suicide. There's no point. Human progress, that's just a man-made weird, not weird, but that's just a little goal. It's pointless. Oh yeah, we can do all this, we can send this to the Jupiter, and we can do this and that. Well, who cares? Doesn't matter. There's no meaning to any of this. If you die today, or if you live, it doesn't matter. That's what nihilism is. That's what godlessness is. But if you believe in God, there is a point to your life. And your life, for one thing, is guided by a force that knows better than you. Okay? It's like, it's not made up by man. That's the thing. Everything in the world is made up by man except for God. Except for, well, his word. It's the only thing that isn't controlled by man, that wasn't motivated by greed or power or control or anything like that. It's the only thing that can actually, well, that's actually true, and actually good, and actually without corruption. But the thing is that then your life has a meaning, because the source of you, the thing that created you, the God that created you, He's doing with you what you were created to need to be used for. As in, he didn't just make people all the same. He made them for... He didn't make it like everyone is a hammer, okay? God created each individual person to serve in some way be part of him, not to be part of him, to reflect him in some way, to reflect God himself. He made everyone to do that. That way you're not meaningless, because God, who isn't a person, who doesn't have a face. God the Father actually doesn't have a face. He isn't a human being. He's actually almost expressing himself and doing his own will and doing his own acting through you, through a person, through everyone's individual perspectives, through everyone's intellect and beauty and virtues and all that. And your life has meaning then, because you're doing the will of God, and he gives you peace because he's filling you and actually guiding you and motivating you and holding you up and comforting you and healing your loneliness and just all these things, because he's God and he can do that. And because you're actually doing what you were created for. So you're actually being filled and living the life you were supposed to live, which is one of being filled by God and surrounded by God and given love by God. And you become satisfied because you're fulfilling your function. You're doing what you're supposed to do. Everything makes sense. There's order. It's not this chaotic nothingness. It's not meaninglessness. There's a reason for your existence. And it's to do this. And it's to be this. And it's to just express the beauty of God that he gave you. Do what he wants you to do. Be what he wants you to be. You're acting out the will of God. And there's a purpose to your life. And then life doesn't just become birth and death. Then life is just the life before eternity. And if you're giving your life, you're essentially laying down your ego and your desire to control and everything, and you're just giving it to God. And then he essentially just becomes the force that moves you and inspires you and leads you and is everything. And then you're all, well, you're filled then. You're full. But everyone is a nihilist. See, if you claim to have autonomy apart from God, you're basically claiming yourself. Your screwed up self, your fallible, sinful, power hungry, gross self to be God. And do you know how, it's not, I don't want myself to be God. I just think the main problem is nobody is fulfilling the function that they're supposed to fulfill. God has an individual will for everyone. Everybody is empty. If you look around, you see this. No matter what their religion, no matter what their, I don't know, where they're from, who they are, what kind of personality they have. If you know them deeply enough, everyone is really, really empty. The only people I've ever met who don't seem to have this, I'm gonna be honest, it's Christians, and not the ones who are I don't know, like all like structural about it and like do this, do that. I'm talking about the ones who talk with God, who have an understanding of who He is, who aren't, I don't know, it's the only people who I've ever seen who just seem to radiate contentment and peace and joy and love and all these things, all the confidence, just calmness, just everything, are the ones who seem to just, the ones who claim to be filled by God the Father, the ones who are actually, I don't know, fulfilling their function. And I'm mad at myself because I keep wanting, okay, the thing about nihilism is because everything is meaningless. You just get to do what you want. And you get to please yourself. And you get to just have autonomy and be the smart one. But the thing is, that satisfaction doesn't last for very long. So, say you wanna agree with things that you know are wrong. You wanna go along with something. You kind of have to go, okay, well, I'm gonna choose this over God. And then, for a while you feel cool. And then you start to feel dead inside. It's like, I don't know. So you feel dead inside because you don't have God, and you're trying to please yourself by filling yourself up with everything and anything and words. Lots and lots of words and lots of everything. And you just get stuck in this endless stream of absolute, honestly, just BS. Of just meaningless things. And you're stuck in this stream and nothing means anything. And then And the thing is also that you have to lie to yourself a lot to get there. You have to lie to yourself about the truth. You have to lie to yourself. You have to say God doesn't exist. You have to say there's no truth. There's no nothing. There's no nothing. There's no nothing. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. That's the most truthful thing I've ever heard. You know the truth, and it sets you free. The closer you get to the truth, the more at peace you become. If you have the truth of God just filling you and just completely overwhelming your being and just ruling, you have peace. You don't have to lie to yourself. You don't have to do mental gymnastics to fit all these lies in your head. Because you just have the truth. So anyway, that's what I've been thinking about.